Good morning, everyone. I'm Natasha Arrow, and we're live in the Digital Center. Right now, I'm with Rhonda Foxx, and she's here to talk about an investigative story that she's been working on. So, Rhonda, take it away. Tell us about this story.
All right, well, certainly, Natasha. So the story I've been working on is human trafficking. I did a cursory look at human trafficking in the Fox Valley. I had the opportunity to talk with two just amazing women who are victims and survivors of human trafficking. In my story, I also talked with Lieutenant David Moss. He is with the Grand Chute Police Department, and he's been working human trafficking for about 2 years. And I also talked with the director of Damascus Road, and they're kind of an outreach for human trafficking victims. But getting back to the two ladies I talked with, Esther, she uses the name Esther. She obviously didn't want to appear on camera. And I also talked with the Rebecca Bender. They're not typical human trafficking victims. They didn't have the typical vulnerabilities like an unstable living situation or had previously experienced other forms of abuse, such as sexual abuse or domestic violence. They were not runaways. They didn't have substance abuse issues. But both these women actually became involved in human trafficking through their boyfriends. And their story is a cautionary tale that human trafficking can happen to anyone. Their human traffickers used a very common tactic, a recruitment tactic called boyfriending. These ladies had both been going out with guys that they believed to be their boyfriends for quite some time, and it turned out to be something that it wasn't. And what's interesting is that these ladies didn't identify themselves as victims because they didn't think they were victims, because they thought they were actually in a boyfriend-girlfriend relationship, and that just simply wasn't the case. But, just with these two ladies, eventually, obviously, they did actually break free of human trafficking after years and horrendous abuse. They did share a portion of their story with me, and you'll actually get a chance to see it when it does air.
Tell me a little bit about what you learned, from this whole process, hearing these women's stories and, how they were survivors and how they were able to get out of this, abusive relationship.
Natasha, that is a great question, and, we just don't even have enough time to talk about, what I learned. The one thing I have to say that was truly eye-opening is that Lieutenant David Moss, he actually made the statement that, Fox Valley, we like to think of it as safe. Green Bay, we like to think of it as safe. Our state, Wisconsin, we like to think of it as safe. But it's kind of like a hidden crime. It's, I guess, a hidden crime, but it actually goes on right in front of our eyes, and we just don't realize it. And what was eye-opening for me are some of the signs, like when you check into a hotel room and you see a guy waiting outside of a door, and he's just kind of waiting outside of a door. And according to the ladies that I spoke with, that's a sign that it's their human trafficker waiting for the ladies to, unfortunately, complete the deed and, so that the guy can collect whatever, cash or whatever afterwards. Also checking into a hotel with no luggage, or just someone talking to, and it could happen to guys too as well as girls, but someone talking to either a guy or a girl in a very demeaning, authoritative manner. I did learn that, if you see it, report it to the front desk, because believe it or not, this is something I did learn. A lot of hotels are actually trained to recognize, hotel staff are actually trained to recognize the signs of human trafficking. Also, human trafficking, it happens a lot, believe it or not, according to the director of outreach at Damascus Road, at truck stops. And truckers are actually, in this state, really trained on how to recognize human trafficking. I know our station has done a story on some training that truckers in the Fox Valley get to recognize the signs of human trafficking and where to report it.
For people who are interested in learning more about this, tell them when the story can air.
So great, Natasha. Yes, the story will air Wednesday at 10 o'clock. But also, I did want to have a little plug for Rebecca Bender, one of the ladies that's featured in my story. She actually did write a book called In Pursuit of Love, and this book details how she was just an all-American, young lady. She was on honor roll, and unfortunately she met up with a guy that that intended to do harm. You can read about her story here in her book. I'm actually halfway through. I can't stop reading it. It's really good. But, specifically to answer your question again, yes, my story will air Wednesday at 10 o'clock.
Well, thank you so much for joining us today, and everyone, enjoy the rest of your day.
Perfect. Thank you, Natasha.